Hello and thank you for joining us once again at SGTV. We are joined by Mr. David Savery from DSES. David, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you back. So today we're going to be talking, it's quite a talking point in the industry at the minute, from people who have an apprenticeship to people who retrain later in life to become an electrician. David, I do believe that you retrained from the comms industry and you did, was it an adult learning course to become an electrician?
Yes, that was my route in, the much frowned upon short course route. I've always worked in the technical industries. My college NVQs were in engineering and electrical, or electronic rather, and I came through the telecommunications industry working for Mercury Communications, Cable and Wireless, a brief stint at Warwick University, which was awful, and then I ran my own business for a few years, offering contracting services to that sector, and then I ended up, by chance, I ended up working for the NHS for a while because when they were on a contract, picked up a permanent role there and was there for a few years before they decided they didn't have enough money anymore and wanted to close the place down, which is where I was fortunate enough to get some redundancy to start this business. Yeah. But yes, you get to a point, especially when you reach around 40 or so, often where a lot of people sort of think, is this what I've been doing? Is that what I want to carry on doing for the rest of my days? Or is it time now to make one last change into perhaps another industry? And obviously a lot of people do get to that point and think, yes, the trades, I'll do that. That's a good thing to be in. Because my background was electrotechnical with comms and electronics, it wasn't so much of a leap of faith for me as it has been for some other people. I know that people have come from diverse backgrounds, nothing to do with electrical or signalling or comms or big industry like that at all, and you know they've looked at the trades and thought, oh, I'm going to go and do something useful with my hands. So no, there's a few things to say about the short course route. It's one of those things that you can take as much as you are willing to take out of it. A lot of people will pay the money for the short courses and assume that because they've paid their money and they're attending the courses that they're going to get what they need and they don't have to do any independent learning. It's like, well, I'm going to attend this course is going to give me what I need, and off I go. And I think also that the electrical industry perhaps is a bit of a soft touch in that people think it's an easy one to break into. You don't need lots of tools. As long as I've got some screwdrivers, cutters, pliers, all I need to do is pull cables from A to B and terminate them, and off I go. And they perhaps don't realise the amount of mechanics that are involved, and the specialist tools, and the kind of knowledge you need in order to be able to really properly do the job and to diagnose the problems. And I attended the short courses, and I saw people on those courses who just weren't cut out for it. They were hopeless on the tools. They weren't putting any independent learning into it. They didn't have a passion for learning it. They just turned up and expected it to be handed to them on a plate. And the problem with the short course routes is that I do think that they handheld a lot of people just through it and
just to tick a box,
give them their certificate or whatever at the end of it and say, there you go, off you go now.
Yeah, and I suppose that's probably where there's almost that's where the talking point comes in, that people might think, they might see people like you're mentioning and think, all these people coming through these courses, they must be like that.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it's only a small percentage.
I can fully understand people who've taken the long way in feeling that they've been undermined by it. And what I did after I'd finished the short courses is I did go back to college. I went back to Warwick College for 2 years, and I did my 2365 level 2 and level 3. Even though I had what I needed to get going, I went back and did the 2365 level 2 and level 3 and the 2394, 2395 initial verification, testing, inspecting. So I have also sat the long courses, not as an apprentice, but I've made that financial investment, which I didn't need to make because I was already up and running. But I don't want anybody coming along and saying to me, you've taken the easy way and you don't deserve to be here, because I put an awful lot of time and study into getting this far. And I appreciate that I haven't come in via the apprentice route
It's not always an option for people at such
But
a
it's
young
not.
age.
No one's going to take on a 40-year-old apprentice. And in fact, my nephew, who's in his mid-20s, he's looking to become an electrician, and there's only recently, in the last few weeks, sent me the bump that he's got from one of these short course places. And the claims they're making there, it makes you realise why so many people are attracted to it, because they say, and this is what they say in their bump, they say that there's a national shortage of electricians out on sites. Electricians earn £150 to £350 a day, and that when you take our courses, you will come out industry ready. And they say industry ready, or you can go self-employed, and the phone will quickly start ringing. You can go out and start earning your own money. Now, obviously, there's all sorts of problems with that. There may be
Sounds good. I'm sold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there may be a shortage of people out on sites, building sites, wiring up new houses. They're not earning £150 to £350 a day doing that job. Definitely not. Otherwise, I'd be doing it. But also, they're not coming out industry ready, because a lot of these places will handhold you through the courses. What you're getting is a lot of people sort of coming out in almost days, thinking, well, I've done the course, but
why is the phone not ringing?
I don't really know what I'm doing. I haven't had time on the tools properly. I haven't experienced anything on site. And then I get people asking if they can come out with me on the van to see to see what the life is like. So they come out and they don't feel industry ready, and they haven't had the level of experience that sort of on-site training and an apprenticeship would have given them. But also the industry sort of doesn't recognise them as being industry ready, which is the tragedy of the thing. So they've been sold this dream, and once they're ejected from the course, they find that the industry just sort of looks at them and says, well, you've got no experience, you've done this course, but so is everybody else. And some of you are going to be perhaps naturally great at the job.
Yeah.
A lot of you aren't going to be any good whatsoever, but because everyone's been rubber stamped, you can't tell what quality is there. Yeah. And they don't want to take a punt on them.
Yeah. Well, I've heard for people coming out of these courses that they're struggling to get a job from a company. So I suppose a lot of them are going straight for the self-employed option.
But again, as I said in the previous video, it took me 18 months to get the business self-sustaining. Yeah. And that was with a comfortable redundancy package propping me up. I didn't have to pay. I didn't have a mortgage to pay at that time. I had some money that I was able to sit on, so I was able to keep the daily bills paid. The wife also was working, so we had money coming in, and we were comfortable. We could survive that time. We couldn't have survived perhaps much more. It was a kind of make or break perhaps by that point. But we got to that point where the business started becoming self-sustaining through the hard work of all the investment in advertising and having to go out and get that business going. It's certainly not the case that you do the course, you stick an advert in the paper, and all of a sudden the phone's ringing off the hook. That's just not going to happen. The only way to get the phone ringing off the hook is to get a reputation. Yeah. And you're in a chicken and egg situation where you can't get a reputation without the work.
I think
the work without the reputation, but yeah.
I think I've mentioned before on one of our videos about apprenticeship. Even, when I was at school especially, trades, it wasn't mentioned. No one pushed it. None of the teachers were saying, trade work is an option, whether it's plumbing, plastering, electrician, builder. No one knew about it. They were solely down the route, you must go to college, and so on and so on. So for people like me, for example, I couldn't have gone down the apprentice route because I didn't know it was there. So there might be people, in my generation especially, who can't do that. They're going to have to go down this adult learning course, various routes into the industry, because the knowledge, the backup isn't there at the initial stage.
Yeah, this is it. Nobody knows what they really want to do when they come out of school. I never came out of school thinking I want to work in telecoms. Everyone comes out of school thinking I want to be a firefighter or a police officer or a doctor or a journalist, or these are the sort of pigeonhole jobs that you're sort of presented with. They certainly were back in sort of 1990 or so when I was coming out of school. And yeah, no one at that time, I was into electronics as a kid. So it was it's all gone now, unfortunately, but it was a hobby of mine for a long time. And no one sort of recognised that and said, oh, you know what, this guy here, he should be on some kind of technical vocation of some kind. And what they kept trying to put me into was engineering. I kept getting sent for job interviews at places like Matrix Churchill, if you remember them. They got closed down by the first Gulf War and some dodgy government shenanigans, and places like that. These sort of Coventry-based engineering firms and car manufacturing firms. I kept getting put into to interviews there for operating lathes and things like that. I'm no mechanical engineer, I'm hopeless on mechanics, but electrics was my thing, but no one sort of recognised that, and I was too dumb as a kid to really know, because obviously I had no world experience. I'd just come out of school and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I'll just go where you send me to. But so and I ended up going to Coventry Technical College and starting an engineering qualification, and then I got picked up by Mercury Communications once I had something actually useful under my belt. They said, oh, yeah, actually this kid's got a little bit to him. Let's stick him on our technical trainee program. And
you could say that, I suppose, education on both sides of the fence needs some kind of reform, that kids looking to do apprenticeships aren't getting that information needed. And like you said, the courses out there for retraining later in life might not be hands-on enough for a lot of people. So I suppose both sides of the fence does need some kind of reform.
Yeah, it's tricky. And this is why you have to have the motivation. You have to know what it is that you're aiming for and to go for it. Now, when I came into this business, I knew it was going to be the last career change I ever did. I mean, I don't suppose I'm going to be on the tools until I keel over. I might keel over tomorrow for all I know. But there's going to be a point where I can't hack the physical work anymore and I end up having to do something else. But it's going to be something in this industry. I'm not going to chop and change again and think, you know what, I fancy being a painter and decorator for the rest of my days now, or something like that. This is it now. The last career change I've made. So I was completely invested in it, and I was spending money on it. I was spending my own money on the courses to get going, and it's like, well, I can't just blow this redundancy package that I've got and not come out with something at the end of it. It has to work. Failure's not an option.
Yeah. Well, it has worked for you, and I suppose that's
But I put an awful lot of work into studying for it in my own time. Like I said, I didn't go there expecting it to be just handed to me. And that's the mindset you've got to have. If you're investing in any courses, take the time to do the research, to read the books,
it's got to be something you're interested in.
And of course these days it's even easier. Excuse me, because you have got people on YouTube showing you how it works, and you only have to go back a few years, and that wasn't the case. It wasn't the case back around sort of 2012 when I was doing this sort of stuff. There was nothing like that on YouTube. Now you've got people who are demystifying parts of it, who are explaining what certain tricky regulations mean and how they apply and that sort of stuff. So there's even less of an excuse, I suppose, these days to not know your stuff if you really want to know your stuff.
If it's something you want to do, you've got to put the work in.
Exactly, yeah. If you're not motivated, or you think, oh, I'll just wing it or whatever, well, you'll get what you get. You won't get success though, I'm sure.
You get found out. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed what we've been talking about, and there's going to be more from me and David. We're going to be doing more videos here at SGTV, so if you'd like to find out more and see those videos, please do like and subscribe, and we'll hope to see you again soon. Thank you.